Hey, this is Julian McClurkin, your chief storyteller with Tribevest. But today, we're not talking stories, we're learning lessons. This is a masterclass on how to build wealth. Today, I sit down with Jim Pfeiffer, the founder of Left Field Investing, to learn about passive investing through real estate. All right, here's chapter 4, how to pick a sponsor. Welcome back to the masterclass. Chapter 4, we're going to be talking about how to pick a sponsor. All right, so we've mentioned picking a sponsor, but how do you find somebody that you like, know, and trust?
This is the most important part of syndication investing. So if you've skipped all the other chapters, you're in the right spot picking this one to start with, because this is critical. Because you can have a great investment run by a bad sponsor, and it's going to be horrible. Or you can have a bad investment run by a great sponsor, and they can maybe save it, right? So you need to make sure that you're getting a good sponsor. And there's a lot of ways to vet the sponsor, but it's complicated because you're only going to get to talk to them for a half hour for a couple of calls. Maybe you can go visit them, but that's not practical for every deal. So picking the sponsor is critical. And one of the best ways is to use your network. I know I keep talking about community, but that's really, really where it's at. So if you have a community like Left Field Investors or Tribevest, talk to the people in that community. Hey, have you ever heard of this syndicator? And that's what we do in our community. We have a list of syndicators that we haven't screened them, but we've talked to them all. And so
they're trusted.
And that gives everybody a little bit of a head start. Ask people, refer me to your favorite sponsor. Left Field Investors website has a long list of sponsors that we've talked to and that we understand, that we think, we don't endorse them necessarily, but that's how. And if it's not Left Field Investors, go to another community and find sponsors that they like. So you need to find some sponsors, get some background info, and then dig deep and do some research on them.
Yeah, Google is your friend on this one, it sounds like.
Exactly right.
But what kind of information should I be looking for with these sponsors?
So one of the biggest ones is experience. How long have they been doing this? Because right now, the last, 10 years, the real estate market has been great.
Yeah.
Right? It's hard to lose money. So what you want is an experienced operator. If you can find someone who's been doing it for 15 or 20 years and they've been through some of the bad markets, that's great. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the syndicator. It could be a new syndicator that has a real estate person who's had that track record. So track record is important. If you could find a sponsor who's had exited deals, right? Because these deals take 3, 5, 10 years before they go full cycle. And full cycle means purchase, operate, sell. So you want to see how many deals have they exited? So do they have experience that they can sell and do the deals they did when they sold them? Did they match up with their predictions, 5 years before when they bought it? So that's part of it. Is you're looking for experience. You're looking for people who have exits. Those are some of the things to look for.
So you can kind of see their stat sheet. You can see what their shooting percentage is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. The other thing, compared to basketball, right? Scouting. You go, you read their website, find out what they're saying. You listen to their podcast. You would watch someone play, right? If they're saying all this stuff in their podcast, then you got to see, all right, are they checking it? Are they doing it?
Yeah.
And part of the thing now with podcasting is there are some really, really good syndication marketers out there. Now, are they really good syndication operators? I don't know. Some of them are better marketers than they are operators. And so part of the challenge is you have to figure out which one are they. Are they a marketer? Are they an operator? Or are they both? Because that could be the case too. And that's where referrals and research helps you out.
All right, so what happens during a typical call when you're on the phone with one of these sponsors?
So they have to screen you just like you're screening them, right? The Regulation D that we talked about has a bunch of rules for they have to know and have an existing relationship with you depending on how they structured their deal, right? It might be that they can advertise, it might be that they can't. So almost every time you want to invest in a deal, you'll have to call and talk to the sponsor. Might be 30 minutes, might be an hour. And so what they're going to do is they're going to ask you questions. They're going to want to find out if you're accredited. They want to know if you've done deals before. They're trying to kind of scope you out to see if you're worth their time. And then after that, then they're going to talk about themselves, their operation, what typical deals they do, and they just kind of give you an overview because they're kind of selling to you, right? So what we do at Left Field Investors is we came up with a thing we call the sponsor screener. Because the first time you call, and I've dealt with a lot of first-time investors, and they say, what am I supposed to say? I don't know what to say. And the syndicator, the operator, kind of runs it. But if you have a list, we have a list of questions that you ask. So you just listen, take notes, and then if they don't ask some of the questions on, or if they don't answer some of the questions on our list, then you just ask them those questions, and they'll they'll give you their answers, and then you kind of take that in and evaluate it. The other thing is, you're not just listening for facts, you're listening for feelings. I know this is really hard, but if you have a gut feeling like, I just don't know, they seem kind of shifty, I'm not sure about them, listen to that.
Yeah.
Right? Do not invest because I've been in a couple of bad deals, and I probably should have been able to figure it out just from the first call. Don't get so excited about investing in a deal that you overlook the sponsor. There are plenty of sponsors. If you get a bad feeling about one, even if other people have said they're great, move on to the next one.
That concludes chapter 4. On to the next one.